Okay, so when I graph this polynomial x cubed plus 3x squared plus x minus 5, I notice on the graph that I have a 0 here at x equals 1. And so what that tells me is that x minus 1 is one of the factors. I don't know what the other factor is, but I know that x minus 1 definitely goes into this polynomial. So if I want to find these other two, which look like they must be imaginary, two imaginary ones, there's no way for me to look at the graph and find those. So what I might do is I might divide that polynomial by x minus 1 to find the other factors. So what I do is I write x minus 1 like this, and I make a little chart out of it. Now, the answer that I'm looking for is, let's see, it's going to have to end up equaling x cubed plus 3x squared plus 1x minus 5. So I am going to look for a polynomial that's going to fit right up here, that when I multiply it by x minus 1, I get that answer. Now I know that when I take x times something, it has to equal x cubed. So this very first spot here is my x cubed, and I got that just because it's my first term. So the thing that goes into this problem is going to have to be an x squared, because that's the only way I can get an x cubed for an answer. So this is x squared. X squared times x equals x cubed. But now that I know my first term is going to be x squared, now I can multiply that by negative 1, and that's just going to be negative x squared. But remember, in my answer, I don't need x squared, I need 3x squared. And so I would have to add 4x squared to negative x squared in order to get that 3x squared. So to add these two together, like terms, to get that. But in order to have a 4x squared up here, I'm going to have to multiply x by 4x, because 4x times x is 4x squared. And now I'm going to multiply that by negative 1 and get negative 4x. But what I need is 1x, which tells me I'm going to have a 5x up here, because now 5x plus negative 4x gives me that x. But if I want a 5x here, I'm going to have to multiply this x by 5, because 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, and that's exactly what I needed in my answer. So I'm done. So now I know this is the answer. X squared plus 4x plus 5 is the other factor. So I know x minus 1 times x squared plus 4x plus 5 is equal to that polynomial. Now this is a squared. I could either use quadratic formula, or I can factor this into x plus 1 times, x minus 1 times x plus 5, which I can't do because that's a plus. So I might play around with some factors until I realize, oh, I can't factor that. And then I'd remember, oh, wait, I remember now, that's imaginary answers. So to get all of the zeros, I see one of the zeros is here at 1. The other 0 is going to be the solution when I solve x squared plus 4x plus 5 equals 0 by using the quadratic formula. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And look at that. It is an imaginary answer. So I get negative 4 plus or minus 2i all over 2, which is negative 2 plus or minus I. And there they are. If I look back at my graph, Negative 2 plus or minus I must be around those spots there. So this is how to use polynomial division using this polydoku method.